VHS tapes may sound old and outdated, but you never know what kind of outdated terror could be on there. I found this one tape many years back when I was a reckless teenager without a care in the world. I didn't appreciate it much at the time, but looking back, those times were the happiest. A cliche saying older people repeat is that they wish they were back in the good old days, and now I can see where they're coming from. Granted, I'm only 24. I'm still young, in a stretched use of that word. Regardless, this story happened when I was 16. It was that glory period where I'd finished my exams and had 3 months all to myself, where I could do whatever I desired. I pushed the boundaries as much as physically possible and got up to some ridiculous stuff. However, none was quite as insane as the time me and a group of friends visited an old, abandoned mental institution. This place was not unknown to our neighborhood. There were always rumors and reports of paranormal activity happening there, or activity that was in some way not connected to humans. This piqued our childish curiosity, and we decided there was no better time or place to explore. Therefore, one night, me and 3 other people decided that it'd be a great idea for us to act as heroes, and finally find the truth. Either try and find some substance to it, or completely denounce them, just in order to quench our curiosity. I must stress that we planned heavily the night before. We had an entire route once inside, even sent one of our friends to scout for security and the best entrance. We weren't really scared, as I still held tight to my you only live once mentality. All sense of reason sort of went out the window, as we just wanted to find out the truth. However, as soon as we found out, this was the only time where I look back and regret how I used to be. To be blunt, I wish I was more cautious. We arrived in the house undetected and entered through our designated entrance point, a small gap under the back fence where no one could ever find us. Well equipped and brimming with confidence, we strolled up to the window and entered the actual premises. A strange atmosphere filled the air and sent shivers down my spine. What's strange though, is that feeling didn't go away. It clung to me, like someone or something was strangling my spinal cord. I tried my best to brush it off, and got the impression from my friends that I wasn't the only one affected. Nevertheless, we ploughed on, keeping our wits about us, but radiating an obnoxious confidence. The first room we entered was what looked to be a dining room. Well, it was mainly a large room, with a few tables and chairs, the kind of low-quality, thrown-away furniture used for the people that society had thrown away. There was nothing out of the ordinary, however. No supernatural being, no bodies left slumped over with the cause of death unknown. Nothing. I think this reassured our group slightly, as again, something changed in the atmosphere, more positively this time though. We moved out of that room, and suddenly found ourselves split up. The only way I knew this, because I only started to hear one set of footsteps close by, which were my own. What made me double take was that I couldn't hear anyone else's, almost as if it was just me, alone in the house. I was walking down what I thought was a long corridor, judging by the shape I could just make out on the walls and floor. It seemed endless, until I saw some light at the end of the tunnel. Literally. It led me to a room where the only light was from a TV screen. It was old and battered, with a tape next to it. It had no markings on it, or text with which I could gain any clues. However, my aforementioned curiosity was higher than ever, so I had to try and watch it. I inserted it into the empty slot on the TV, and it played automatically. I had no idea what to expect, and having watched a lot of horror films, I thought I was pretty desensitized to even some of the most gory and abhorrent movies on the planet. However, what was on that tape was something else. It started off with just a dark screen, or should I say, a dark room. There was nothing visible, and the only thing I could hear was some breathing and sniffling, as if someone was crying or scared. This instantly made me have second thoughts, but those thoughts were outweighed stupidly by the opinions of my friends if they found out I didn't watch this. The breathing and sniffling got louder, as if more people joined in. Then, a light switched on, and 3 people were sitting on chairs, bound to them with masks over their mouth and eyes. A figure dressed in dark robes suddenly entered the room and started laughing, or at least chuckling to himself. He walked over to one of the people, a girl who looks around my age, and took off her mask. It was then revealed that she was one of my friends. He removed the mask of the other 2, and sure enough, they were my other 2 friends. I put my hand over my mouth in shock and took the tape out of the TV, but the screen didn't change. I then realised that the tape was just a decoy, and the screen was showing a live recording. There was no remote or plug socket I could see, and besides, he caught my attention when he pulled out a small shiny silver object from his pocket. He walked over to the first person, said something unintelligible, and then gouged out her eyes. At that point, I had to try and run out of the room, but it was now locked from the outside. I sat down, covered my eyes, and tried to block out the sound of screams coming from the TV. After 10 arduous minutes, the screen shut off, and finally the door unlocked. All the lights were now on, and the building was easy to navigate through. It was still the middle of the night when I left. Something compelled me to look up at the window. It was then that I saw the severed heads of my friends, eyeless, next to the psycho, who waved at me. I rushed home, taking a detour in case they followed me. I couldn't sleep that night, and so called the police a lot earlier than I wanted to. They stormed through the house, and weirdly, couldn't find any trace of anyone being there. There was no blood, no heads, no clothes, not even the TV. All that was left over was the tape. It's safe to say I never really got over that experience, and I don't think I ever will.